So what are we doing? Gonna try and set up the Slydepay API using some RESTful endpoints rather than their current SOAP stuff. So I'm gonna be it's more like a wrapper because I'm gonna be using the SOAP improvement code that I've written for them as the underlying system to get this going. It's in PHP, so if you don't like PHP, start liking it. Oh, that's wrong. And I am learning as I go along as well, so do look out for mistakes. Just shows that I am, after all, human. Oh, no. Vendor auto. So we'll be using the Slim framework to develop this project. So let's switch over to my terminal. We use Composer and require Slim. Just for those who don't know, this is actually doing something. It's trying to find the Composer package for Slim, and then I'll pull it in and sub the autoloading. So Composer is a dependency management tool, kind of like NPM for Node, or what is it, Gems in Ruby, or is it the bundler? Don't know which one. I'm not a Ruby developer, but it's kind of like that kind of tool. And it also has an autoloader built in, so it will pull down the package, then set up the auto loading of the actual package whenever that happens. Seem to be taking quite long to download what it needs to download. Probably should have done this bit of ceremony before even starting off this now. Seems like my internet speed's gone to the dogs. Okay, that seemed to be taking quite long, so I'm gonna manually work around it. I'm gonna copy the Composer stuff I have from a previous project into this one and then work from that. Unless something happened between now and me finding that project. Seems to be taking all kind of forever, but it seemed to be doing something, because if I should look in my editor, it did create a composer.json file. Just seemed to not be doing anything else since then. I think it's a bandwidth issue at the moment. I think I'm just gonna cancel it in the terminal. Just gonna copy and paste this stuff. You probably won't see that, but believe me, I am copy and pasting. Copy and pasting work, kids. Copy and pasting works. So if we switch back over to the editor, boom. Let's say it just did what I said it was doing. Bam, my composer JSON, my log file, blah blah blah. So the log file is something that npm missed out on, but then Yarn brought it in. So hey, they should have just followed PHP from day one, or the Ruby gem had a log file as well, but right. So we're saying we want to require our autoloader, which is inside of the one directory up in vendor autoloader.php. So we'll require that. Now we'll move on to loading our environment variables. Yes, I won't show you that file because that's the file that contains my key. This .env file contains my key and my email. Yeah, I know some of you want to see that. So let's set up .env. What are we saying? We're saying look into the current directory for a .env file. So the current directory would be the public directory, but then the way how the .env package work is if it doesn't find it in that directory, it will traverse up to the next directory until it finds a .env file. So we'll now load that by calling .env.load. And that should give us our what do you call it, our environment variables. So we can test that by just writing a var dump in here. What is it? Get env. You can see my email, that's fine. Where's this built-in terminal thing? Let's run the PHP web server from in here. PHP, yeah, on port 8080. That should be running. So if I should open up a browser window, let's bring one over here. Right, if you go to localhost port 8080, boom, all the things are broken. Failed to open that autoload file. Let's go back here. Okay, so it's saying one directory up vendor. It exists. So why is it giving me that error? It's very interesting. Anyone seen why it be giving that error? No? Fatal error required open. That's spelled correctly. Yeah. Let's remove that bit and see what happens. Oh, okay. Okay, I know I've done that because of where I've launched the thing from. Okay, you know what? Just to make matters easier, I'm gonna get rid of the actual public directory and just move the whole thing into the root directory. I think this will make life a lot easier. I think this will also prove that what I said earlier was wrong. the .env doesn't actually traverse back up. It just reads whatever directory you're in. So okay, you don't need to go there. So it's just don't even need that, just that, right? And if you open back our browser, refresh, boom, there we go. It's pulling that out from the .env file. So we know that that works. Now let's boot up our actual Slim application. So we'll call it app equal new slim / app, right? And we need to call app.run for it to actually kick off anything. So if I should comment this line out and then create a actual route, so app get, let's call it the base route. Oh, someone said the sound is low, or is it just me talking low? How about now? So if I write a function, and in this function, let's just echo. Bad practice, but let's just echo. Hello world. And let's go to the browser, refresh, and you notice that nothing happens because app.run is what kicks off the whole process of the actual application running. So if we uncomment that line and refresh, we got hello world. Stackinetics, is it that my audio is not clear, or is it that my voice is hoarse, or is it that I'm talking too fast? So so that's our hello world, but we don't want that. So I guess one of the first thing to work out is, oh, it's not loud? My audio is not loud. Interesting. Anyone else having that problem? Turn it up a little bit more. How about now? I think this should be quite loud. I mean, this is picking up a bit too much, picking up my entire room. So I think I'll look at the actual Slydepay API code to work out what it is that we want to do. So we know that it requires a few setups. So let's set that up first. So outside we'll call, caps off, Slydepay. Oh, if I can't spell, SLYDE equal new Slydepay / Slydepay. And we can tell that this will require some changes. So let's open up both files. So it requires a merchant email, secret, and I guess the other two are optional. So let's pass in the merchant email. So if we do get env, because we save this in our env.env file, so we'll say email, and then we say get env again, and this will be API key. Right. So Slydepay should be set up now. For convenience of not actually, because this variable is global. And the problem with this is inside of my closure, I have no access to this. So now if I should try, let's just actually var dump and see what happens. Var dump slide pay. Right, let's refresh. See undefined variable slide pay. Because inside of the closure, we have no access to anything that sits outside. You'd have to use the use statement to pass that in. And now if we var dump and refresh, then there you go, get all the data. In order to not do this over and over, there's two things we can do. I'm gonna go with the easy option. I mean, the more difficult option, or the better option, would be to actually add this code into the container and then dependency inject it. But for the ease of use of what we're trying to do, I'm just gonna create a function that will hold this in it. So we'll call the function connection. Function connection. Instead of connection, I'm just gonna copy this bit of code and return it. So now if I need access to that, I no longer require to use, because now it's a function. So functions can be called from within closures. So if I var dump connection, I should be seeing the same thing. There you go. So we're seeing the same thing. So what do we want to do? So what should we call our routes? What names should we give them? Maybe we'll call the first one order, maybe? Yeah, I think order. I think that's one of the things you can do with the API. Let's scroll down here. This is the API code. Let me minimize the terminal stuff because that's not necessary. Let me hide my sidebar. Right. One of the things you can do with the API, you can process payment order. So we can set up our order. So first we need to set up our request and response objects that Slim passes to the closure. So we'll just call it request. We'll call it full name. Response. What this allows us to do is we can get parameters, post and get parameters using the request, and the response is what we'll use to return data back to the browser. So for the request, whoa, I think my audio is picking up my neighbor's radio. Hold on. Oh, hello. Ah. Okay, someone's passing around with a radio playing. I'm gonna turn down for a little bit. Gonna turn off the volume for a little bit and wait till they've gone. Okay, I think they're gone. Well, you can still hear it in the background. I think they're close enough to gone. So what we want, so our order, to process an order, we need a few things. I guess we need to first set up the order items and the amount that the order will cost. So I guess how would we pass that from what do we think that would look like from the REST API perspective? Let's try and map that out. So let me just create a new file. Let's say this was a JSON file. So we're thinking maybe orders. Oh, no, JSON, sorry. Then maybe, was it items? Yeah, I think the order would have items. Then items, oh wait, no, items would be an array because you'd have more than one item, right? And then instead of this array, we'll have an item node, which would be the item, maybe just call it ID. We can make these IDs up. Well, let's call it ORD 1, 2, 3, 4 or something like that. Then what is it? Name. Can use name or title. Toothbrush. Price. So if you want to know how I'm working out what should be in it, it's from the actual order items, order item, not order items, order item class. So if I open that, right, and we see it takes a item code, item name, unit price, and quantity. So we'll say price, let's say 12.15, right, and we'll say quantity 1. Yeah, so that's what our items. Let's pass in multiple items. We're just going to duplicate the line. Order 1, 2, 4. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 2. What should this be? Toothpaste, maybe. It's quite. Let's make the price 15, and we want 2 of those. Right. So we have our orders node. Our orders have items, which are these, and we need to know what is the amount. So let's look at the order amount object. Right, and the order amount requires subtotal, shipping cost, and tax amount. So okay, so we'll want to pass in our tax, isn't it? Tax. Let's call it tax what? Tax amount. Yeah, all the strings, so 20. Yeah. And then our shipping costs. Oh, typos. So our shipping cost, probably, I don't know, whatever I might want to say. Let's say it's, no, that's so expensive. Say 10, right? So I think now we have everything that an order would need. I mean, this, I guess, is what would pass over to our REST API. Let's just make sure that the process order. Okay, so the process order actually requires a order ID and a description also, and if we want any comments. So back to the orders node, let's just minimize the items. We know what that looks like. So maybe in here we can also pass in a, let's write it above just so it's more clear that these are requirements. So what's this? Order Let's call it ID. ID. Random numbers. And a description. What do we call this? Shopping for toy. TOI. Don't even know if that's a word. For what do you call it? Shopping for household items. Yeah, that's more clear. So currently we have our ID. So our order ID, we have our description, we have the order amount. What? Where do we put that? Okay, so order amount is derived from the actual items. Yeah, so we'll work out the total from the items, because order amount, yeah, so stuff that order amount will need is the tax amount and shipping cost, which we have in here, and the items, we have them there. So we'll skip comments, we won't leave any comments, we'll just leave that blank. So back to the code. So we know our data structure will look like. We know it's going to be top level, orders, blah, 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 all the way down. So let's start creating our actual order items. Yes. Yeah. What's the easiest way to do this? So let's create an array of order items. Order items. I hate calling stuff array. I kind of need the order items name, don't I? For something else somewhere else. Okay, let's just call that for now. Order items. So we'll create an empty array. And what we'll do is we'll probably have to loop through something to get those items. We need our Slydepay object as well, somewhere down here. So we'll call it Slydepay equal connection. Our connection is what we defined on line 10 back up here, which returns the Slydepay API. So yes, so how do we get these actual items? So we can get our order items from our request object, as I said earlier. What's the easiest way about going about getting that? I don't know. We'll learn as we go along. I guess somehow we should be able to get to our order request. Let's call it that. Orders request equal request get param or DRS maybe. Should we try that? Let's comment this line out. Let's usual var dump development. Yeah, let's try that and see what happens. Probably best to try this out. Actually, wait, this is still a get. Well, it needs to be a post, isn't it? We're posting later to it, so let's call it a post. And let's try this out with something like Postman. So let me open the Postman. And we'll want this little guy here. So it's a good thing we created this from earlier. We're going to use this in Postman. What's it called? Hold on, just setting up my Postman now. What port are we listening on? 8080. And it's called order, right? Right, so here's my Postman stuff. Oh. this stripe thing, something else. Right, so we order, so we want to do a post. Let me just save this in my collection so that later on I can find it back easily. So we want to send across a body raw binaries. Set this to application JSON to make sure that it's the Slim application will be able to parse it correctly. Right, we'll paste in our orders and let's see what happened when we hit send. Boom. So yes, it did work. It did find the actual orders array. So this code actually works. First go. Wow. That was a guess. Right, so now we have our orders. So I guess we could run a for loop for each loop. So what is it? Order, request, what is it? Items. Yeah, that's the node. As, let's just call it item as item. Right, so inside of here, we'll now start building up our actual order item object. So let's open that up. So this guy, right? So in here, we'll do new order. Okay, Slydepay something like that. The namespace. So we have to put the namespace. Order item, and the order item requires it requires a item. What's this? The first bit is the code, so the code we call it ID. Let's just duplicate that. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 parameters. So we pass it the ID, the name, price, quantity. Right. Let's make sure we have that right. So let's look back at our API stuff from Postman. So ID, name, price, quantity. Yeah, that's what we're passing around. So each time this run, it'll do that. We'll want to push this onto the order items array. So let's just call this, to make this more clear and more easy to follow, let's call this order item. And down here we'll do an array push. And it says we should give it the array that we want to push it onto, I'm guessing. Is that the first one? Yeah, so the first one is the array you want to push it onto. So order items, and then the item that you want to push onto it, which is order item. So if we'll try our var dump again to make sure that our order items array has 2 order item objects. Var dump order items. If we come back to Postman, we send a post again. There we go. It has 2 objects, and our objects have protected properties with all of the data that we just passed into it. Oh, close it off. Yeah, so we know that's working. So now that we have our order item, let's now move on to building up our actual Slydepay code a bit more. So let's get the order amount. Yeah. So create a variable called order amount, new Slydepay order. And in here, so the order amount would be, what does it take? It takes the order items. So wait, this is why I didn't want to call this variable order items. Let's just call it items. I'll explain to you why I'm changing the name in a minute. Because I want to use the order items variable for something else, for the actual order items object. Order items equal new Slydepay order. What does this take? This takes a, actually let's look at the code rather than me just explain to you. So if you look, wrong. Order items. So it takes an array of items, right? So we've already created our array of items here where we pushed it into the items. So we'll just pass in items to this, right? Let's comment this out so you can see what actually gets pushed into it and what happens. Why is there an error? Oh, okay, IDE. Right, so if we try posting again, see, so now it's no longer an array that's at the top. The previous one was an array, but now it's actually a Slydepay order items object. The reason why I want to put it in the object is there's some methods in the object that will help us with the order items. So for instance, I can actually get the total by just typing, so actually the subtotal by typing subtotal, right? Because this is a method that we have within the order items, which will go through all of the items that are within it and calculate the price, right? So if we look at it down here, subtotal, we're saying going through all of them, calculate the price. Yes. And that is going through, and then it's going through to the item. The item is calling the item itself subtotal. So if we open order item, or the item has a method within it, which does the subtotal. Right, and we can see that that subtotal is the unit price plus quantity. Yep, so if we come back here, if we try that, you'll see it gives me the subtotal of everything within it. So I'm pretty sure if we do the maths, that will be correct. Let's make sure actually. 15.15 times 2 . Oh wait, you can't see my screen, so let me open my calculator. Yeah, can you see that? So 15.15 times 2 plus 12.15. Yep, 42.45. So that's correct. So now in our order amount, we can pass in the actual subtotal that it requires. So we'll open the order amount again. So you see the first, it requires subtotal, then shipping cost and tax amount. So we'll pass in order items subtotal. And the second one is shipping costs. So we'll get the shipping costs from our orders requests. Right, and I think we call it shipping cost. And the last one is the tax amount. Right. So we can yet again var dump this out. just to make sure the order amount is the actual object that we're getting back now with some data in it. Yep, so now we have a order amount. Order amount contains subtotal, shipping cost, and tax amount, right? And also total as well. So it has the calculation of everything calculated together along with each individual value, right? So that's working fine. So now we need to use the actual, so actually so far we haven't had a need to contact the Slydepay server. So far everything that we're doing is just in our application in memory because it's just using objects, right? We're just mapping some objects. So now we're going to move on to actually contacting the Slydepay server. So now we have to do slide, oh, did I spell it right? Yeah, Slydepay process payment order, right? And I guess the first item that needs, let's look at the code, needs the order ID. So we can pass it through from our order request. I think we call it just ID. Oh. Then the second parameter is the description, which we call description. We should probably have put in some checks in here to make sure these properties aren't empty, but you can do that in your own time. Want to map this to something because we're going to get back some values from this call to your server, right? So after that's done, we want, what's the next thing that it needs? It needs the order amount. So now we can just pass it in our order amount object. What's the next thing it requires? Order items. And our order items object. Boom, that's done. And what does this return? So Slydepay has a requirement that you need to return to their website to do some stuff. So this returns a URL. So once this gets fired off to Slydepay themselves, we get back a unique URL, and then from that URL, we can the user can then click on that link and go there. So that URL will just write back out a response object. So we want it to be JSON as well, don't we? So we'll say return response write, and this will carry a array. We'll send it with a redirect URL, which is result, which comes back from the result from Slydepay, which is a redirect URL. Right, how do I know there's a method called redirect URL? Because then if we look at the response that method, that process payment order returns, it's a API response. That API response is an object. So if I open that, inside of here, we actually have a redirect URL method. So that's what I'm calling. So now if we do a test again, so this is going off the Slydepay server, doing some stuff. Failed. That didn't go well. What happened, Slydepay? Okay. Oh, I need to turn on my display error in this application. I don't know what the error was. Let's rerun the app. Can't believe you, Slydepay. Why did you fail? That was going so well. We have to change this ID because each time Slydepay generates a URL for you, that ID can no longer be used again for whatever weird reason. So let's try again. See, it's gonna fail again. Just want to see what the actual error is. Could not write to stream. What does that even mean? Could not write the stream. Let's see if it's my return code that's wrong. Let's comment that out. Let's do a var dump. Result. Redirect URL. And let's try again from Postman. Yep, I have to change this number again. Send. Oh, it's my code that's wrong. It actually returns a token. Okay, that's good to know. Slydepay, you aren't the one to blame. So, right. So somehow my response right here is incorrect. Response, yeah. I'm pretty sure right is a method of response. I'm writing an array. That might be why. I might need to JSON encode it first. Let's uncomment that. Oh, that's spelled wrong. ENCODE. Yeah, let's try that now. Yeah, again, order item number has to change. Let's send. Yay! So you got something back. So there, got our redirect back. My editor is taking up half the screen. Yes, I don't want you to see the other half of the screen. Let's try and fix that, David. Let's try and fix that. The other half of the screen is required for your comments. Can I fix that halfway through the video? Yes, I can. How about now? Is that better? Actually, I didn't even ask if the font size was fine, actually. I hope it is. Oh, don't even know how to adjust font size. Okay, but there we go. So that was just the order method we have set up there now. So this, you could extend on it, you could build on top of it, you could do more, you could work out some of the other methods. Mobile payment order, don't ask me what that's about. Apparently that's supposed to return a QR code or something. Confirm transaction, you know, you can check if the transaction was confirmed and stuff like that. You can cancel a transaction. But yeah, so that's how you go about creating your own little REST API on top of the Slydepay SOAP API using the rewritten code that I've done for them. I've sent them a pull request, but they haven't actually got a chance to look at it as yet. So hopefully they'll look at it soon and merge that in, and then you'll be able to play around with it with some nice objects, get stuff done a lot more quicker. I'll put this code up online somewhere so that you can go and play around if you want to and build on top of it or whatever you want to do. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you for watching. That's it. Or actually, do you have any questions? Anyone have any questions? That's probably a good thing. If anyone has a question they want to ask about something. Does any part of this not make sense? Is any part not clear? Do you want me to explain a bit more? Maybe you want to see how I'll do the connection using the dependency injection stuff instead of just writing a connection class, a connection function, sorry. Yeah, let's do that. Let's change this out to be to use the actual Slim container stuff. So container equal app get container. VS Code, why don't you work for my PHP stuff? So do container connection equals a function. And that function is an anonymous function that will return something. And down here, how do we get that back out down here? So instead of connection, we could say this connection, and that would give us our data, because the container acts as a lookup table, right? So this key connection is what it looks up for and finds this one here. The reason why we can call it from this is because in Slim we're actually binding the container to the actual closure. So it's kind of like a bit of magic to get stuff out of it. I mean, the long form of this would be this container, then that. That would give us the same thing, right? But this is just a shortcut to get to it, I think. Let's try that as well. No, lied. Haha. What does it say? Identify containers connection. What did I call it? I'm sure I call it connection. Oh, can't spell. Why didn't it pop? This is why you need languages that have types, right? This thing is an error. I spelled it C-O-N-T-I-A instead of T-A-I. If only I could spell. And yeah, it looks like it's working. Yay, worked. I guess something else you'll notice is that I didn't actually set the headers for the return data. How do we set the headers again? Right. Response. Let's look at the response object. The Slim response object, that is. There must be a method. No, there's nothing that says header. It's right, just writes. It doesn't do anything else. It's that with, isn't? Oh, because you use with JSON and not even need the JSON encode. Look at that. Says we can use with JSON. Yeah. And that takes data, status. Doesn't have status by default, so we could pass the 200. Yeah, there we go. Well, Slydepay tells that token already exists. There we go. Now we have actual proper header. We have an application JSON header. Cool. Okay, that's it. Thank you all for watching.